Welcome to the number one friendship podcast in the country. I'm Aaron Cairo.
I'm Matt Ritter.
Make sure to go to manoftheyearpodcast.com to grab our merch and watch our full episodes and clips on YouTube. So, Matt, I was reading a study the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And by reading a study, I mean on TikTok while taking a poop.
Yep, the way we do
it. The person was talking about the benefits of having good assumptions about your friends. So another way to describe it would be assuming the best of people, which is like an old phrase, but this was just having good assumptions about your friends. And the easiest example of that is your buddy's late and you immediately go, he doesn't respect my time. He didn't even plan for this. Like, I can't believe it. Versus being like, oh, he must have really got held up. Maybe there was an accident or he was helping his kid or something. And that changes the way you interface with your buddies.
I love this. I think this is a great topic for us to delve into. Not to toot my own horn, I do something slightly differently. I mean, I think I generally always assume the best in people, but I always sort of have said, just remember somebody's always got something going on.
Yes, and that is kind of a corollary of this.
Yeah.
A few things that the research says about trying to have good assumptions about your friends. It builds trust. It enhances communication when you just assume that they're coming from a positive place. It reduces misunderstandings, which we'll talk about. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. It helps you with your own patience if you're just assuming that it's not something negative. Fosters loyalty. And it reflects self-respect and self-confidence when you have a healthy attitude towards somebody else. Now, my first question to you, Matt, is, well, what happens when they didn't have good intentions?
Well, I think we can get to that, but I think the point is that it's irrelevant because you should be starting from this place because it's better for you, first and foremost. I think of all those on the list, it improves your mental well-being. Like, this is about you. The way that you are with your friends is also reflective of how you're treating yourself. So a lot of the things that we're talking about, the ways people are not socially healthy or socially fit, is because they're not handling their friendships in a way that helps their own mental health and is in their best interest. So I think, again, like, this is one that, to me, it's a no-brainer to start off with the best assumptions, because if the opposite is assuming bad things about your friends, you're just going to be walking around carrying negative feelings, judgment, anger, annoyance, like hair trigger temper, like all things that don't serve you in any way. Now, if your friend is shown to have bad intentions, you can always turn on this negativity at any moment. You know what I mean? You can always go F that guy at any moment. But I don't think you should start with F that guy, because you have nowhere to go from there.
So you like it more of as a default position?
To start from positivity. Start from good assumptions.
Does it have to be binary? Could it be neutral?
Yeah, so I would say, if I were to guess, I mean, I don't know what percentage of people walk around with assuming the best in their friends all the time, but I don't think it's everybody. I think it's a small percentage. I think most people actually go with where you're talking about, neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people don't really come in with sort of preconceived positives or negative assumptions most of the time.
What's another good evergreen example besides your friend is late and you just think, oh my God, they don't care about
your friend didn't invite you somewhere?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay.
I think that's bigger. I think that's bigger than late. It's more relevant for us.
Interesting. Dude, didn't we just have this conversation yesterday about this Sunday's events, this Sunday's of coming events?
Uh-huh.
Where you said you were invited late.
Yeah.
And you assume that was negative, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. I think that's a very common, right. I'm getting caught in my own hypocrisy here.
So just to clarify, I asked Matt if he was going to a party this weekend, and he said, "When did you get the invitation?" I said Tuesday, and he said, "Well, I didn't get it Wednesday, so I don't like a second round invite." Which, nobody likes a second round invite, I guess.
Yeah. I'm usually fine with it, but I told you it was more the other thing that I just had a lot of other stuff to do.
Oh yeah, of course. But
the late invite, for parents, because I have a kid, it's hard because I've got, a lot of stuff that's already on the
So
calendar.
how would you handle that with good assumptions?
A good assumption is that it was just honestly an oversight. Like there was no like, oh, he's on my second cut of the list.
I would think another thing, which I think is probably what happened, was it was actually very small, and then he decided to go big.
Right. And that's fine. I agree. Like you should have better assumptions about that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the good one. I think the not getting invited somewhere, we tend to go negative with that. By the way, one of my family members blitzkrieged me on an event we did, who shall remain nameless, on a family event we did that, and they got a late. I think we talked about this 2 years ago. They got a late paperless post because that one everybody knows it says the timestamp.
Yeah. Again, you have like your guest list open and your comments open. You can change all that. Which
I got to go private. I got to go dark on paperless.
Yeah. You need to be on the dark web on paperless post.
Yeah. That's just like a glutton for punishment and opening the door to making people hate you.
Matt, can we talk about some good assumptions between us?
Okay.
Because I've got a couple of bones to pick with you.
Oh boy. There we go.
I've got some bones wrapped in some compliments. Kind of a mouge. What's it called? A mouge bouge?
The thing, the palate cleaner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm thinking of kind of like, I don't know, pigs in a blanket.
Oh, okay.
We had these two interactions recently that really, I again continue to learn about you, and to our new listeners, me and Matt have been friends since 1986. So Matt and I share the responsibilities of producing the podcast. And, as we have different roles. And one of my roles is like, I keep a list of every episode, and I have to make instruction manuals for Matt to follow. So Matt texted me the other day, and I can only just describe him as gleeful, absolutely gleeful. And he goes, Cairo, you fucked up. Your document's wrong. You made a mistake. That screwed up my whole morning. And I'm taking great pleasure in your mistake. I go, okay. I sit down at my computer. Within 90 seconds, I realized, no, I was totally right. He made a mistake. He fucked himself. And
so good.
And after admitting his own fault, I go, Matt, why don't you just call me as soon as you saw something was up? I could have walked you through it immediately. And he wrote in this text, I'm too prideful. And I love that because it's true. It's self-deprecating. It's introspective. It's like, there's nothing I could say. There's nothing I can say to that. I mean, it was, I don't know. I was just so like, I've been thinking about it ever since. I'm too prideful. Brilliant.
Yeah. I know my flaws. And the thing about the pod is that I just can't seem to get it right. And Cairo, I hope now realizes his assumption may have been, oh, this guy's like lazy or whatever. But now I think he can realize like I'm literally inept.
You're not inept. That's what bothers me most. That I don't think you pay attention to detail. And you don't, and you don't care.
Yeah, no, I do care. But this one was really hard. I had mislabeled multiple episodes the same episode number, which was almost impossible to figure out.
Wasn't that hard. Anyway, so it was, I I want to get back to this, but I actually think you say I'm too prideful, also very disarming in a good way.
Yeah.
And I just, something about it I appreciate. I mean, I was, then enraged, but like, it was just kind of like, nobody's really honest anymore.
Yeah. That's true. No, that is true.
About their own flaws.
It is funny. I'm definitely on the spectrum of honest about him too. And then after, when we got into a text chain with JMC, I was like, wow, I'm such a clown.
And I want to get back to, because by the way, if it happened in reverse, I wouldn't say I'm too prideful. I would get defensive, and that's
Yeah.
way worse. So,
but I mean, the prideful of it all was partially like, I hear you being like, how come you can't figure this out? So I go back and I'm like, man, I got to get this one right.
So the second interaction that we had this week, we had a disagreement on the phone. And when I say disagreement, you guys know me and Matt. This was maybe from a 0 to 10, it was a 0.1.
It was low grade in terms of heatedness, for sure.
It basically consisted of me getting riled up and Matt staying exactly the same. And then in this instance, Matt was right and I was wrong. But I will say one interesting thing is that even when you're even keeled and you're in the right, you go ad hominem very fast.
What'd I say?
You go, you don't know anything about business, you moron.
Yeah, I did. I said, you know nothing about business.
And
the business of America is business.
So ad hominem, for people who don't know, is when you're having a debate and you're not arguing about the merits, you're just making fun of the person, basically.
Well, we were running out of time, so I had to escalate.
But you will notice that I generally don't do that.
No, you take it. I apologize. It was a low-ish blow. We were running short on time, and I couldn't figure out how to crack through.
And you don't need to apologize, but and you were in the right, but it was just interesting that I generally, but that's kind of like, it took me back to middle school.
No, yeah, the bullying, the cruelty, it
wasn't cruelty and it wasn't bullying, but I was trying to argue on the merits, and you're like, you don't know anything. You're stupid. You're dumb.
It wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to be that I have a very good handle on how hard it is to pry large sums of money out of people's hands.
Yeah, no, 100%. But
I just thought we're trying to do from multiple people in this world right now.
Yeah, not even pry, receive. We're just receiving.
But no, people are not forthright. People are not just opening up those checkbooks and tossing around giant wads. But back to good assumptions.
Yeah.
I do think generally you and I have very good assumptions about each other's intentions always.
Oh, always.
And if you have close friends, first of all, let's just layer this a little. If you have close friends that you're having bad assumptions about, that's a problem. Whereas there are a lot of people that you are not in a ring that you may be a little sort of more quickly to have some sort of negative assumption about. I think if it's in your inner circle, it's a much bigger problem.
Matt, I want you to give me some real-time advice. So in the past few episodes, we have actually, I've commented on my buddy who he hasn't come to a bunch of my events. So I'm seeing him tonight.
Yeah.
Seeing him tonight, a group dinner.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I need to say something.
Yeah.
And I want to try to take this episode's, I want to have good assumptions.
Okay. So why don't we start with, you assume that he had a reason for not showing up at any of these things that was valid.
So if that's the case, then why am I even bringing it up?
Well, because we don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
Right. So it may not be true, right? It probably isn't, considering the number of things that he's bailed on.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just start off by giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying, look, man, hey, I haven't seen you at a lot of these things. I was hoping to see you, positive, I missed you. I was hoping to see you at these things. It's been way too long. And, it's just you could say I was, kind of expecting you to come to some of these things. I'm just curious what's going on, just maybe instead of accusatory, maybe hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? So you kind of give them a little bit of grace there.
because what I was gonna go was sort of almost the converse in order to like not put him on the defensive. I was gonna say something like, I hope I didn't do anything wrong,
Mm,
but like I haven't seen like you didn't come to these last 3 events.
yeah.
But
Well, again, we can do the "Are we good?"
I was thinking that too, but like you said, I really want ooh, that's pretty good. That's some asking for a friend stuff. Oh, I really missed you
Yeah.
at these events. Maybe I combine them. I really missed you at some of these events. Did I do anything wrong? Like,
Yeah.
ooh, that's good. Because
What is your
the
aim? What is your aim? I'm curious. What is your goal here?
well,
What
I
would you
like
want the resolution to be?
well, I mean, listen, if he goes, I think you're an asshole. I mean, I guess we at least we know that. I don't think that's going to
The
happen.
odds are it's not that.
No, I think I want to clear the air and him to come to the next event.
Right. Right. So you want him to feel missed and, like you wanted him there and, not to like overly make him feel guilty, but you do want him to feel like, hey, you didn't come to 4 big events in my life this year.
Mm-hmm.
You do want him to have the takeaway of like, I can't, I have to show up for my friends.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you want.
Right. Right.
But
Mm.
is he going to, is this more indicative of his sort of, look, we all know people show up when they want to show up. Sometimes
Mm.
maybe they need to have this conversation and realize that they haven't been. And I do want to give people grace, but is it more like, do we have to put this person in another bucket?
If I had a guess, I think it's a natural ebb and flow.
Of the
You know,
friendship? Just
yeah, yeah. Like combined with timing, out of
yeah,
town. You know,
yeah.
so I think three is a problem. Four is yeah, you're dead to me.
Right, 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 right. But again, in between dead to you and like we're BFFs is all right, this person's a flake. I kind of like it when I hang out with them, but I'm not going to invest my emotional energy in them showing up or not showing up.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because I just wonder if I don't have that.
You don't have that. You don't. That's for more me. That's more me for sure. I'm projecting how I can put people downshift them emotionally. And then I
Right.
feel better about them. I'm like, oh, it's my casual guy. I see him once a year. It's all good.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide like, am I envious of that or is it just a different strokes for different folks?
I think it's just different strokes. I think you're all or nothing with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to report back.
Yeah.
I'm going for all.
Okay. Good.
Um, should we take a listener question?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll be right back. All right, guys, this is asking for a friend. If you have a friendship question or ethical dilemma, send it to us on Instagram at Man of the Year Podcast, and we will answer it on the show. Okay, here we go. Dear Matt and Cairo. Oh, wait a minute. This is an old one. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Dear Matt and Cairo, I have a great group of friends who I enjoy spending time with, but we don't always share the same interests when it comes to activities. For example, I love going to concerts and movies, but they don't like the same bands or the same movies as me. So I actually end up going alone. I don't necessarily mind it, but sometimes I wish I had someone to share these experiences with. Do you have any advice on how to balance my interests with my friendships or how I might find new friends who share these passions without neglecting my current friends? This was actually someone I met in IRL who then texted me. And so I talked to him a little bit about it. He was like, I actually have a group of friends. I'm good, but they just don't like the same stuff. So like I'll go to a fish show by myself. So I think we've had activity partners, but not friends. But have we ever had, Matt, friends, but not activity partners?
Yeah. And so this is a Matt special because I feel this deep in my core.
Okay.
I think the friend circle I have doesn't totally align with my activity interests. And I think for whatever reason, even though I have a great social circle, I have maybe just lately I've been feeling like the things that I like to do, I don't have anybody to do them with, and that's why I'm not doing them. You know, tennis being an example. just like one thing that I really want to get into. The music that I like, I don't necessarily have the right activity partners for. And I go to, the concerts with some of my friends who I'm not totally aligned with the music of it, whatever. So I think two things. One is your close friends are your close friends, right? But your activity partners can also become close friends. And I think for men, it's important to have activity partner friendships.
Just one thing specifically on you and the concerts. We end up going to a lot of incoming concert invitations from Jeff, from Fireball Adam. Yeah. We're just not usually like proactive ticket buyers 6 months in advance. Yeah. So there's really no reason you can't buy a Dave Matthews concert and then invite Jeff.
No, that's true. Actually, and I ended up finding some for Pearl Jam. It turned out I actually had to have to ask around. You just assume you don't have any of these. Maybe it turns out you do. But I think we've realized from doing this pod for almost 2 years now, men tend to build their friendships now in adulthood off activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, this person sounds like they're not into the same bands they're not into the same bands or movies. So they go to the movies alone. Like, I think it's hard to find a specific movie partner. Like, that's a tough one. It's easier to find, I think, people who share your musical interest than, I have to find the right movie type person. Don't you?
Well, I'm just trying to think how you would even find, unless you're inviting people who he says don't want to go, how do you find a concert friend?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, expand your outer ring first. Of like, next time you're at a bigger gathering, like, talk about how you like this band. See if you can
wear a shirt.
Right, wear the band's shirt.
Right.
See if you can suss out who else is a Clippers fan. See if you can suss out who else likes bird watching. It's almost like, we did an episode where we said, you have to tell people you're in the market for a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe you need to tell people you're in the market for a, Taylor Swift. Well, not Taylor Swift. Everybody likes Taylor Swift. James Taylor.
Well, you know how, Matt, your advice is always, if you move to another city, you email your existing friends in your city and say, hey, does anyone know anyone in Boise?
Right.
I don't see why you can't do that with your crew. Hey, I'm going to this Fish show. I know you guys are not into it, but do you have any friends who might be?
It's a good idea. Fish is a good one. Because actually all those people are very generous and like want people to join their cult.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I went to a Fish show. I think it was last summer. It's interesting.
We talked about this. It's not for us.
Not for us, and that's okay. But you know what? If my friend invited me to go to another one, she didn't have anyone to go with.
Right, sure. I do it too. Once in a while, I still do it. Just because I like the socialization, getting out of the house, whatever.
I'm surprised you're having. Sorry.
No, I haven't really been doing the activities I want to do because of lack of time.
Oh, okay. Because I'm gonna say, you don't have tennis buddies?
No, I could, but the way that my life is so, like, I just have so little time right now currently. Right. I just need somebody who literally is like, I need the tennis and the person to be like available, like short, not ideal, like short notice, live in my neighborhood.
Got it. Okay. Well, how can we, how can we solve?
No, but I have a few dad friends I've been talking about it with. Like, I talked about a couple of my dad friends starting a bowling league right here. Just because I like to bowl and it would be right here. It would be easy for me. But it's also like with people that I already like.
I didn't know you liked bowling.
Yeah, love bowling. And so I may start with my neighbor and a couple of people around the neighborhood.
I just saw this great comedian, this great bit. She was saying how she doesn't respect bowling because when she goes, once a year with her friends, every once in a while she throws a strike, which is the best move you could do in bowling. Like, and she can do it. She's like, you never go ice skating with your friends and accidentally do a triple axel.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good bit. It's definitely a good bit. Right. Like, I can never just accidentally hit a home run like at a baseball park.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, but he
I
also was asking about balancing his interests with his friendships, right? And so I think most of the time that you are socializing with your friends these days, a lot of times it's some of it is interest based, some of it is not. And dinner is not necessarily interest based, right? Like
mhm.
drinks and dinner are not interest based; they're just social based. So I think on how to balance it, it's like okay, you could try to see if any of your friends are open to coming to these things. It sounds like they're not. They don't always like it, but even though they don't always like it, sometimes they will come. But again, if what you're trying to do is build activity partners, then you got to go out and build those activity partners. The only way to do it is by being the friend for those sorts of things.
What do you think about doing stuff on your own?
Well, I think if you do stuff on your own, you're likely to meet people potentially. But I think if you go to a concert or a movie alone, you're not really going to meet anybody.
I guess I was coming from the other direction. You've got a stable, you've good social fitness, you've got your buddies. They just happen to not like,
Yeah,
comedy movies. So when a comedy movie comes out, I go by myself. I don't meet anybody, but I just do it on my own. Is that
I think it's fine. Look, I don't mind going to movies on my own, to be honest. Because
I only
Jesse
go
and
to
I,
movies. I only
well,
go by
Jesse and
myself
I, it's impossible because it costs an extra $100-something for us to go to the movies together.
just because it's so expensive generally.
The nanny,
Oh, the
we have to
nanny. Okay.
pay. We literally have to pay
Right.
over an extra $100. That's why parents don't go to the movies.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like, one of us has to go. So I will go to the movies alone. I have no problem with that.
I
Concert,
like
I don't know that I would want to go to a concert alone. To me, that's
concert alone. I wouldn't do because there's no band that I like that much. I mean, Taylor Swift, I would go by myself for the
yeah,
experience.
yeah. But
I
so
only
yes,
go to
I think there's something to be said for like being able to be with yourself sometimes on these activities. Like it's okay to be at a movie alone.
especially if you have good social fitness otherwise, and it's not like affecting your ability to do. If you're like going and like you're sad because you have nobody to talk about the jokes with, then we need to worry about it. If it's not a problem, I think you're okay. But I was just gonna say, I only go to the movies alone. I go like the 11 a.m.
Oh yeah.
You pop in, you pop out. I don't know. I just like it.
Do you care about opening weekend or do you just go whenever?
The only because I don't go. I'm not a. I don't want to like go against our business. I'm not like such a what's it called a traditionalist that I has to be in the theater. But the big event things, I will go opening weekend because I don't want to get spoiled.
I like to go opening weekend to support the box office gross. I'm not joking.
Okay.
Because they say that an entire movie's run is it's just a multiple of their box office gross. The algorithm is set in stone on that. Like
Right.
it's so rare the movie that does not do well that opening weekend that somehow makes it out. And there are a lot of movies that don't do well that opening weekend that are good movies.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah. I just don't like spoilers. But besides that, um, but I don't know. It's also a movie. It's why I never like going on a movie date. You're just sitting there, so it's not to
Yeah.
me. It's not the most social thing.
No, the date is only for the hole in the bottom of the popcorn. No.
Oh my god, the Dune popcorn bucket.
Anyway, let's get back to the question. I want to make sure we're giving a good answer here. So I think it's a good valid point of like if you do have good social fitness, it is okay to go to a movie alone every now and then. But I think the flip side is be the friend. If you have activities that your friends are not into, maybe you got to start branching out and figuring out a way to meet other people at some of these activities. Take a I don't know. There's like classes. Like Jesse and I are taking pickleball classes.
The amount of like socializing and activities you do, I was saying this the other day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. Jesse's doing a women in events thing. No, it's great.
You're taking pickleball lessons.
Yeah.
How often?
Once a week.
So
just for a month.
Who's the coach?
Former tennis pro. They're all like former. You never know. They all say they're pros. Nobody ever looks that up, right? They're all like, were you a pro or did you like go to college and not make it pro?
Right. I mean, what does pro mean?
Well, I think you actually have to like turn pro. I think there is like you have to get your card.
Oh, interesting.
I think you actually have to like earn your pro card. So maybe I should be like, let me see your papers.
And I would also say, as far as activity partners go, if our writer in or listener, if you find someone who just likes going to X movie or X band with you and nothing else, and your relationship does not grow after that, that's totally fine. Maybe even better.
Right. Right.
So,
I have a few people that it's oddly enough, and I'm sure you maybe get this too, because I'm a comedian, they like only invite me to comedy shows and they don't know that I never will sit at a comedy show.
That's the last thing we want to do.
But they're looking at me to be like, oh, he would be a good. I respect the notion that they're like, oh, I don't have anybody to do a comedy show with, so let me message this person.
People ever text you and be like, hey, any comedy shows I should go to tonight? I'm like,
always.
Google it. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I do give people some tips of like where to go. These are people who knew nothing about the comedy world.
Got it. Okay. I think we answered that.
Yeah.
Okay. That was asking for a friend. If you have a friendship question, send it to us on Instagram and we'll answer it on the show. Matt, what did we learn today about having good assumptions about your friends?
Number one, it serves you and your own mental health.
Yeah, that was a really interesting way of thinking about it. I think of more of as your default to neutral to good. And then if it turns out, and we'll see what happens tonight, if it turns out that it was negative, you could always turn on the negative meter.
Yeah.
Guys, that's our show. Thank you so much. Oh, you have something else?
I was going to say, I liked, of all the things on the list, I like that it fosters loyalty, that they will then give you the better assumption, give you more grace. I think there's like what goes around comes around thing.
So you want people to have assumed.
I certainly do. I want Caro to have better assumptions when I screw up the podcast. So I got to give good assumptions about him.
But if I'm late and you are like, oh, man, he doesn't respect my time, then I show up and say there was a huge accident, I helped, rescue somebody, then you're going to be like, oh shit, oh man. And like, I mean, does it really change? I mean, I guess you spent half an hour stewing.
Yeah, I would be annoyed that I spent so much negative energy, but also I'd feel bad that I had negative feelings about you.
Right, and you cost you nothing to be like, oh, maybe it's
right,
it's fine. And then I show up and go, yeah, I just left 20 minutes late, and then you could just be like, dude, well, that's not cool.
Right, exactly. Save the rage.
I'm gonna really think about this tonight. I'm gonna say, hey, I love hanging out with you, and I'm gonna start super positive.
Very curious. We got to talk about it next week on the pod.
All right, I'm gonna report back. Okay, now that's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to your friends. Love you, buddy.